All right, welcome back to Minecraft. We're in the 1.14 snapshots, and there's a feature that I didn't mention in the other videos because I thought it'd be kind of cool to, do in its own video. So here we are. All right, so up until now, if you wanted to get wool from a sheep, you'd go ahead and you'd craft yourself a pair of handy dandy shears, and you go up to the sheep and you go boop, and then you shear it, and then you get wool. And then you have to wait for that sheep to, go and eat some grass again. Then it'll grow its wool back, and you can repeat the process. Now, there have been mods that add blocks like the Rancher, which will allow you to automatically shear sheep. But in vanilla, there was no such way until now. And this is pretty cool. Are you ready to be the test dummy? You're nodding at me like, yeah. About to make one giant leap for mankind here. So now, you can put your shears inside of a dispenser. And when you trigger the dispenser, it'll shear any sheep that are right in front of it. Pretty cool, right? So on its own, that might not be too useful. But if you combine it with automation and hoppers, for example, then you can do something pretty nifty with it that helps you passively collect wool as long as the chunks are loaded. So let's go behind this little dividing wall that I've created here for dramatic effect so you couldn't get a sneak preview at the masterpiece that I've created over here to help with the automation of collecting wool. Currently, it's empty. And I'm sure, there are probably better, more optimized ways to make this. I'm sure you could study the exact size. It's like the most effective way to do it to where you're still getting, enough sheep exposed to the edges where the dispensers are going to access them versus ones that are kind of left out in the middle and grass to allow them to eat it and grow back their wool. But for demonstration purposes, this should work. So let's just place down a bunch of sheep here, and we're gonna get this party rolling. In fact, I could just kind of put them up against the diamonds here. So the reason why I have this thing formatted as is with the blocks above the dispensers here, contrary to popular belief, they don't actually have to be diamonds. But when you shear them, the wool it has a little bit of a spread pattern, right? And so if you put fences on top of the dispensers, then the wool can land on top of the dispensers, and that's just like wasted wool. You don't want that. So this way, you're blocking it from going where you don't want it to, and it'll fall on the hoppers. The sheep, they need to have grass though, right? In order to eat and regrow their wool. So that's why there's still some grass in here rather than the entire floor being made of hoppers. But I put a hopper spread distribution sort of around the edges in the hopes it'll collect most of the wool. I'm sure a few pieces will drop and not be reached by the hoppers, but it'll capture most of it. So, and then there'll still be some in the middle that aren't immediately exposed, but they'll walk over eventually. Anyway, we can give this thing a start, and it's loud, but it goes. And all of a sudden, look, all the sheep are sheared. Now, see, we have like a couple wool that have just fallen down here. A couple sheep haven't been gotten yet, but they're gonna move around as time goes by, and eventually they'll be exposed to the edges. So each of these sets of repeaters I just delayed by one repeater so that they're not all going off simultaneously, just an easy clock. You could have them set to go off simultaneously. Doesn't really make much of a difference. This was just a really easy way to wire it. And you could also do something where the wiring is hidden, but for the sake of demonstration, it seemed easier if you could just see exactly how everything is working without me having to dive in, break blocks underground, and all that. So now, if we come down here, this chest was completely empty beforehand, and now it has some mutton in it because it wasn't necessarily completely empty beforehand. I might have accidentally had a test run that I might have forgotten to clear out, but for the most part, most of this came from the sheep that I just put in. Here, we can do another test really quickly if we just clear out the existing sheep. And we'll do it one more time, and then it'll actually be a completely empty chest before we begin, and we'll get some exact numbers from that. But suffice it to say, there is probably a more like optimum way of doing the whole thing, right? Where you have the exact perfect ratio of grass blocks to space, to dispensers, to diameter, length, whatever you want to call it. And people will have to experiment with that. But for now, it seems to get the job done just fine. All the hoppers basically just feed into each other until they drop into the chest over here. So that's pretty straightforward in that regard. So now let's just do this one more time. You saw the demonstration of the sheep getting sheared, so let's just do it once more, and then we'll see what the actual numbers are from like one round. It's a little loud, so that's the only downside. You'll probably want to stay kind of away from this thing while it's running, assuming you run it continuously, or you could just do it once, let them all grow their wool back, and then set it again and just collect wool on demand, rather than just letting it run continuously. Sort of up to you. Obviously, shears in each of these dispensers. The only thing is that it does wear the shears down, so you'll have to replace them eventually, so something to keep in mind. Anyway, let's run it and let the wool flow in. See, pretty cool. I like how it's kind of synchronized with the tick sound of the dispensers firing as each of the wool kind of popping in. Not bad, quite a bit, if you can deal with the sound, that is. And there we go. From just that much, we got 39 white wool, 3 gray, 4 black, 4 brown, and light gray. Not bad. A lot easier than actually going in and manually shearing them and all that. And then obviously you can wait a bit, go do whatever there is to do, come back later, the sheep will have regrown some wool, you can fire the thing off again. Obviously there's a better way to run it than just, you know, breaking the redstone and triggering it over again, but this was an easy way to do it for the sake of this video. Run it again, and I just have to, you know, be a little closer than as soon as I try to nudge it into the thing. Come on, there you go. And then he's sheared. There we are. We can stop it, retrieve our wool, got a few more out of that, and we're good to go on our way. So anyway, thought that was a cool feature with the 1.14 update worth making a video on. Hopefully you have enjoyed, and go and figure out what the best ratio is of size to dispensers, to hoppers, to grass, because I'm sure someone will figure it out. So anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like if you liked. Check out the playlist in the description if you want to catch more videos of stuff. You already grew your wool back. Isn't that exciting? You're ready to be sheared again. All right, I'll catch you later.